Hi everyone, welcome to day 4 of an introduction to Shakespeare. I hope you're enjoying the unit so far, that you found lots of information about the Globe Theatre, and today we are going to be looking at some more information about Shakespeare's play A Midsummer Night's Dream. Okay, so our LI is to gain knowledge of the plot of A Midsummer Night's Dream. So if you could please underline the date and LI when you've written it in your books. You may pause here just to make sure you've given yourself time to write it down in your exercise books. Okay, so let's start off with a bit of fun. So what I would like you to do is choose a word from each column and create your own Shakespearean insult. So start your insult with thou, which means you, and then choose one word from column A, join it to a word from column B, and then add that to column C. So my example is thou gnarling onion-eyed dogfish. Okay, so that's my Shakespearean insult. So I want you to have a go. It's actually quite a lot of fun. So have a play about with that for a few minutes before moving on. Okay, so we're going to be looking at the story of A Midsummer Night's Dream. Okay, and it's one of Shakespeare's probably quite funniest, humorous plays, and it was a very popular one as well. So reading a Shakespeare play in its entirety is always difficult, as we often need a glossary to help us understand the language. So I studied English at university, and when I had a unit on Shakespeare, I spent hours and hours reading the plays and then looking in a glossary or looking on the internet to find some more information about what those words meant, and it took forever to read a story. And in a unit like this, it takes quite a lot of time, and it's quite difficult because I'm not there with you to read through the story. So what I've done instead is I've sent you a summary of Midsummer Night's Dream. Okay, so what I would like you to do is read through that now before moving on. You might need to read through it a bit slower because there are a few, there's lots of characters and there's lots of different relationships going on between the characters and crossovers in the story. So I need you to take your time. Often I find with Shakespeare stories, what I used to do is I used to read the summary, but I used to kind of make either a little family tree type diagram or make notes as I went on so that I really understood the story and the relationships between the different characters. So you might want to do that as well. Some of you already have knowledge, I think, of A Midsummer Night's Dream, so for you it might just be a recap, but it's still really good to read the summary and just to double check that you still remember the story. So pause here and go ahead and do that reading first. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed reading that and that you did understand or remember the story of A Midsummer Night's Dream and how it's to do with love, and it's to do with control, and it's to do with a bit of humour and magic and all of those things all together in one. So we're going to start off by looking at Act 1, Scene 1. Okay, so remember this is a play, and Shakespeare's plays were always in acts, which were like sections of the play, and each act maybe had 4 or 5 scenes that made up that chapter almost of that story. So we're going to just look at the first scene today and just this little bit of text. So I'm going to read the text to you first, try and explain to you what is actually happening so that you then can have a go at answering the questions on the right hand side. So Theseus says, "What say you, Hermia? Be advised, fair maid, to you your father should be as a god, one that composed your beauties, ye, and one to whom you are but as a form in wax, by him imprinted and within his power to leave the figure or disfigure it. Demetrius is a worthy gentleman. So is Lysander. In himself he is, but in this kind wanting your father's voice, the other must be held the worthier. I would my father looked but with my eyes, rather your eyes must be with his judgment look. I do entreat your grace to pardon me. I know not by what power I am made bold, nor how it may concern my modesty. in such a presence here to plead my thoughts. But I beseech your grace, that I may know the worst that may befall me in this case, if I refuse to wed Demetrius, either to die the death or to abjure for ever the society of men. Okay, so basically what he's saying is, this is a conversation between Theseus and Hermia. Remember, Theseus is Hermia's father, and Theseus is telling Hermia that he would like her to marry Demetrius, and Hermia is saying, no, I love Lysander, and he is worthy of my love as well. And the father and her are kind of in disagreement with it, but they're arguing, but not in a very loud or aggressive way. You know that Theseus is very much in control of Hermia, and Hermia is just trying to persuade her father to think a different way. Okay, so why does Theseus refer to Hermia as a fair maid? Why? So think about that question. A fair maid. A maid is a woman, but someone who would be seen to be quite low on the hierarchy of status as well. Okay. Number 2, why is the epic simile used to describe a father-daughter relationship? So this is the simile of him referring to her as a candle. So why does he use this to describe the relationship between the two of them? Why is Hermia's reply so short? How might the actress say this? So how do you think she was feeling? The father says this whole big speech about how she's like a wax and he can disfigure her and all of this stuff, and he's should be God to her, and then she says, so is Lysander. So how do you think she's feeling at that time? What is interesting about the structure of Theseus's reply? So what do you think he's trying to say? He's saying, if you look at the words, he's saying, but in this kind, wanting your father's voice. So basically saying that I am in charge, your father wants you to marry Demetrius, and so because of that, you need to marry him. Okay? So he is very much like, I'm in charge, isn't he? Why are eyes referenced several times? So Hermia is saying, I am looking with my eyes, and I'm seeing that I don't think Theseus is, not Theseus, sorry, I don't think that Demetrius is worthy of me. And Theseus is saying, well, actually, he needs to judge you, not you judge him, because you are a woman and he is a man, and he needs to be doing the judging, which obviously in this day and age is not the right thing to say. But for him, for Theseus, at the time that this story was written, that is sent to be, that was the culture of the time, this ancient Greek culture. Why does Hermia refer to Theseus as your grace several times? Because she's showing respect, isn't she? Your grace is to address someone who is noble, who is higher up in the hierarchy. And the last question, what choice is Hermia given here by the Duke? So either, remember, to die a death, so either she dies, or abjure the company of men. So otherwise she will have to go and live in a nunnery where she's just with women and never be married. Okay, so I know I've helped you out with some of those answers there, but I want you to just go through again and answer those questions in your books, please, and make sure you send them to me. You can write the answers in full sentences. You won't need to copy the questions. So pause the video here so that you can do that bit. Okay, so lastly, a little bit more fun. I would like you to watch the following video, as it is an animated version of the story for you to follow, and it's going to help you have a better understanding of the story as well. So not only have you read the summary, we've looked at the first scene, you are now going to watch a video as well of A Midsummer Night's Dream, an animated version of it, just to get a really good idea about the story. Okay, so enjoy, and I look forward to seeing your comprehension questions, and I will speak to you tomorrow.